I had been at the new job for 3 weeks, and already the pace felt like a blur, fast, relentless, and demanding. The design firm was everything I had hoped for in terms of creativity and challenge. I was working on innovative projects that blended program design and animation, exactly what I had been searching for, but it was a lot, more than I had anticipated. The high expectations, the constant stream of deadlines, and the pressure to deliver were starting to weigh on me. It wasn't just the job that felt overwhelming. I could feel myself pulling away from Patrick. And it wasn't intentional. It was just happening. Between the long hours and the mental exhaustion of navigating this new role, I'd been needing more space, more time to myself. I knew I had been distracted, distant even, and though Patrick was patient, it was beginning to show in the quiet gaps between us. Tonight, after another draining day at the office, I had barely made it through the door when Patrick showed up with takeout. He smiled as he set the food on my kitchen counter, clearly trying to bring some normalcy back into our routine. But instead of feeling grateful, all I felt was tired. Too tired to fully engage, too tired to be present. My mind was still caught up in the maze of ideas, tasks, and conversations from work. I wasn't here, not really. As I watched him, I realized how long it had been since we'd spent any real time together. Days blurred into nights, and I hadn't even noticed how much distance had grown between us. Guilt gnawed at me. I hadn't meant to shut him out, but the job was consuming every ounce of my energy. My head was still spinning with thoughts of deadlines and presentations. And suddenly, Patrick's simple gesture of dinner felt like another demand on my already depleted reserves. I could sense his frustration, though he tried to hide it. And I couldn't blame him. It wasn't fair. I had been so focused on adjusting to my new role that I hadn't even realized how much I'd been neglecting us. I had been pulling back, retreating into myself, seeking the mental space I craved when life became too much. It was how I coped. But now, seeing the look in his eyes, I wondered if my way of handling things was starting to hurt him. It's not that I didn't care, I did. But I felt like I was caught between two worlds, my need for space and independence, and the relationship that was quietly asking more of me. Patrick had always given me room to breathe, but now the unspoken question lingered between us. How much space was too much? Could I give him what he needed without losing myself? As I sat on the couch, the weight of everything pressed down on me. I could feel the tension in the air, the growing divide between us. Patrick wasn't asking for much, just to feel like he was still a part of my life. But right now, it felt like everything was too much. I didn't know how to balance it all, the job, the relationship, and my need for solitude. My mind was constantly running, juggling tasks and deadlines, and the idea of trying to navigate my emotions on top of that felt overwhelming. Sitting there, I realized we had reached a turning point. I couldn't keep pretending that things would magically fix themselves. I couldn't keep pushing him away and expecting him to understand without any explanation. But at the same time, I wasn't sure if I was ready to give more of myself. I had always been fiercely independent, and the thought of compromising that freedom was unsettling. The push and pull inside me was exhausting. I stared at the floor, my mind swirling with thoughts I couldn't yet put into words. I wasn't ready to let Patrick go, but I also wasn't ready to give up the space I valued so much. The thought of losing either felt suffocating. If I kept pulling back, I knew he might not stay. But if I tried to give more, would I end up feeling trapped? Was it possible to have both? To maintain the freedom I needed while staying connected to him? The silence in the apartment stretched, heavy and unresolved. I didn't have the answers. I wasn't even sure I knew what I wanted right now. All I knew was that something had to change. I couldn't keep pushing him away, yet I couldn't ignore the part of me that needed distance to think, to breathe, to just be. As Patrick stood to leave, I watched him go, a lump forming in my throat. I didn't call out to him. I didn't stop him. Not because I didn't care, but because I needed time to figure out what I really wanted. The door closed softly behind him, and I sat there in the quiet, the weight of his absence filling the room. This wasn't just a minor argument, it was a crossroads. I knew that much. I was standing at the edge of something that required me to make a choice, but I wasn't ready to make it. Not yet. I needed time to process, to sort through my feelings, to decide if I could find a way to balance the life I wanted with the relationship that mattered. The room felt still, and for the first time in a long while, I let myself sit in the uncertainty. I didn't have to decide right now, but I knew the decision was coming, and when it did, I would have to figure out if I could have both. The independence I craved and the connection I wasn't sure I was ready to lose.